Hello there, my dear fellow Earthlings. In 2026, if all goes as planned, humans should once again walk on the moon. It's been a very long time since that last happened. The last time was in 1972. The upcoming mission is part of an extensive program that is aimed at ensuring a permanent human presence on the moon. And to make life possible on the moon, we need air, water, and food. However, there's none of that up there. So, is it really reasonable? Will we really be able to live on our natural satellite one day? Let's ask for the moon in this new video. This face probably looks familiar to all of you. In any case, his name is known to everyone. Neil Armstrong. He is the one who made history by becoming the first man in the world to walk on the moon. That was on July 21st, 1969. I remember it. On the other hand, this particular one is much less known, and if I tell you his name, there's little chance that it will mean anything to you. Eugene Cernan. And yet, he also walked on the moon. He was even the last to do so on December 14th, 1972, during the Apollo 17 mission. If everything goes as planned, NASA, in collaboration with Elon Musk's SpaceX, promises us the moon by 2026. First, there was the Artemis 1 mission. At the end of 2022, a spacecraft was launched towards the moon. After orbiting around our natural satellite, it returned to Earth. During this mission, the spacecraft was occupied by mannequins. The next step is Artemis 2, and this time, it is planned to orbit humans around our satellite. This journey is scheduled for September 2025 aboard a spacecraft named Orion. It is capable of carrying 4 passengers, and for the first time, a woman will be part of a crew traveling to the moon. The following year, in December 2026, Artemis III is expected to land astronauts on the moon's south pole. The stay is going to last total 6 days, compared to 3 for the Apollo missions. Contrary to what one might think, the ultimate goal of this program is not only to explore our natural satellite, but to use it as a springboard to send manned missions to Mars by 2040 or 2050. The Americans intend to establish a base camp on and around the moon before sending the first humans to the Red Planet. The idea, actually, is to depart from the moon because it is easier to escape lunar gravity than Earth's gravity. Therefore, it is really necessary to carry less fuel, which will lighten the craft. The moon also constitutes an excellent training ground to test our abilities to live in space for extended periods. I remind you that a mission to Mars, including the round trip, is expected to last nearly 2 years. Anyway, it's not going to be easy to live on the moon. The first concern is air. As you know, Earth has an atmosphere, a thin layer of air essential to life. It's what allows us to breathe. On the moon, there is none. For the occupants of the International Space Station, the issue has been resolved. The air they breathe is regularly delivered in tanks transported by cargo spacecraft. But the moon is not the ISS. Our natural satellite is, at worst, 384,400 kilometers from Earth. The ISS is only 400 kilometers away, so you can clearly imagine that. At that distance, it will be impossible to send ships at the drop of a hat to resupply dozens of people with air. I suppose it's hopeless. Not so fast. NASA scientists may have found the solution to survive there, all thanks to moon dust. It contains oxygen. Using a powerful laser capable of reaching 1,600 degrees, they managed to melt this dust, mainly composed of regolith, and extract the oxygen it contains. This extraction was performed in a vacuum environment, hence without air, just like on Moon. This technology is currently ready to be used for space trials. Tests are planned during upcoming Artemis missions, and regolith is not the only mineral in which oxygen can be found. Indeed, other minerals, such as silica or aluminum, contain some, and they prove to be abundant. According to some scientists, and this is just a hypothesis, the moon could provide enough oxygen to sustain, believe it or not, 8 billion human beings for about 100,000 years. Only nitrogen would need to be transported to recreate the air, which, I remind you, is composed of 21% oxygen, 78% nitrogen, and a few rare gases. Okay for the air. But what about water? Good question. On the moon, there are no seas, lakes, or rivers. The lack of atmosphere and the very high temperatures during the day, around 150 degrees, make it impossible for water to remain on the surface, either in liquid form or as vapor. But with a bit of searching, scientists have managed to find some. The South Pole, for example, where the Americans have chosen to set up their base, contains numerous ice zones. These ice zones are nestled within craters, shielded from sunlight, and also protected beneath a thick layer of regolith. To extract it, NASA engineers have developed a revolutionary extraction module that is known as the Rocket M. It is actually capable of pulverizing rock, then ice, and sucking up the latter to sublimate it. In other words, to turn it into water vapor. According to its designers, this process would only take 5 to 10 minutes. This robot, which has already been tested, could exploit a dozen craters per day and could recover 426 tons of water per year. Some of it will be used to produce the fuel necessary for rocket engines. The rest could be used by astronauts. I still remind you that on Earth, we each consume 150 liters of water per day. Well. In the end, that's not a lot then. True. But this ice would only represent a tiny part of the water resources present on the moon. Chinese scientists claim that the subsurface of our satellite hides a gigantic reservoir that is completely invisible to the naked eye. What? A hidden ocean? There are few chances to discover huge underground lakes. This water would actually be trapped deep within tiny glass beads that would have formed following a meteor shower. It could contain a whopping 270 billion cubic meters of water. Compared to Earth, it's not that much. Our planet contains 3 quintillion, that's about 10 million times more. But it would really be more than enough to meet the needs of our future lunar colonists. We still have to get hold of these water beads and actually figure out how to extract them. And that is not for tomorrow. Well then, we have checked off the air box, the water box, but there's one left. Food! A few months ago, American scientists achieved a world first. They created a soil with properties similar to that of lunar dust. That is the regolith we talked about a few moments ago. Subsequently, they planted chickpea seeds into it. After a few days, some of the seed began to sprout, and some of them even reached maturity. It is therefore theoretically possible to grow vegetables, in this case chickpeas, on lunar soil, even if it is poor in nutrients. And why not then put them in a mixer and make a delicious hummus? What's certain in any case is that to survive on the moon, future colonists will have no choice. They will necessarily have to do farming. Are we all upside down? Well, not really. A new milestone will soon be reached by an Australian team that is about to send carrot and tomato seeds aboard a small spacecraft. If all goes as planned, it will land on the moon before the end of the year. There, a robot will sow these seeds in the soil. They will be cultivated under a greenhouse to be protected from the extreme temperatures that reign on our satellite. If the experiment is a success, there's no doubt, once again, that it will really be a giant leap for mankind. As I've said, up there, there's no air and no liquid water. However, sunlight is present, and that is a very good news. It will actually allow astronauts to produce energy using solar panels. Okay, they will need to be numerous enough to provide enough electricity to run the workshops and the machines inside them, such as computers, to light, to heat, and to power vehicles. An American project called Blue Alchemist is currently studying the possibility of manufacturing these panels from lunar regolith. The biggest advantage is that it could be produced on site. Well then, no problem. Just have to do it. Eugene Cernan, the last man to have set foot on the moon, declared that we could overcome all obstacles to settle on our natural satellite. All except a single one, lunar dust, the much-vaunted regolith. The latter covers the moon's entire surface to a depth of 3 to 20 meters. This dust is made up of microscopic grains with an average size of 19 microns. That's half the width of a hair. They are so fine that they stick to suits, infiltrate the smallest gears of machinery, and most importantly, they penetrate the body through the respiratory tract. In 1969, the first men who set foot on the moon reported the problem. This dust, which gives off a smell like gunpowder, actually caused them to sneeze and even have some violent coughing fits. At the time, this dust was suspected to be toxic. Evidence of this was provided 50 years later, in 2018, by a team of British researchers. They demonstrated that moon dust, which is abrasive, is potentially dangerous to health. According to them, breathing in lunar dust particles would in fact be as harmful to the lungs as working in a coal mine without protection. NASA, in collaboration with private companies, is therefore constantly working on new spacesuits that would prevent particles from infiltrating. But for now, no one has yet found the miracle solution to this particular problem. It just goes to show when a speck of dust slips into the gears. Tell me, are you tempted by a little trip to the moon? Personally, I truly believe I am going to have to just stick with terra firma. That's all for today. I really hope that this video about the moon has made you dream. If, like me, you're passionate about space, please don't hesitate to let me know in the comments. I'm having plenty of other lunar stories to tell you all. In the meantime, feel free to like and subscribe my channel. See you very soon, ladies and gentlemen.